because that episode sounded so terrible. The Vegas episode sounded so bad with the lavalier mics that I bought. Friend of the show, Dice Game Uchiha, has done a noise remake of it that makes it sound even more bizarre and with feedback loops and extra grungy, crunchy sounds and stuff. It's pretty fun. So we're gonna put that out as a bonus.
Standing in an open field west of a White House. This is episode 277 of Insert Credit. I'm Colin AKA MoxBagel, filling in for Alex Jaffe. I've emerged from the depths of the dirtbag to demand quiz answers from our panel of experts, timed to a horrible buzzer. As I said, I'm Colin, and the visual novel I would recommend to someone's grandmother is Root Letter, a game about Japanese tourism and remembering the past.
Oh, God.
Frank has to go first.
Yeah, my name's Frank, and the visual novel I would recommend to someone's grandmother. You know, I feel like Cat in the Hat teaches some important lessons about how to I don't know. I don't remember what lessons it taught, but I feel like grandparents probably like that book.
It's visual. You can look at it. It's a novel, sort of.
Sure. Well, and they would understand its roots in minstrelsy.
Right.
I'm Tim Rogers, and the visual novel I would recommend to someone's grandmother? Doesn't matter whose?
Yeah, an unspecified grandmother.
It could be any grandma.
It's like the, like push a button and someone random dies, except it's like a random grandmother appears.
A randmother?
Yeah, grandmother, yeah.
I ain't no visual novel expert. Visual novel, is that like a graphic novel? Is that the joke I'm supposed to make?
I just made that one, basically.
Yeah, well, no, you made it about a picture book.
Hang on, is that not a graphic novel?
Is the Cat in the Hat a graphic novel?
Is Cat in the Hat a graphic novel? That's
you
the
really
question.
need Jaffe to answer this question.
I don't think it is. Jaffe would say no.
Graphic novels have to have word balloons.
That's true.
That is not true. That is absolutely
It is true. It's true.
Let's get Scott McCloud in here. Come on. Last I read Understanding Comics, I would call Cat in the Hat a graphic novel. But comics, anyway. I would call it
I'm self-taught on comics, so...
God, Cat in the Hat rules, dude.
Tim, you got one? Visual novel?
I don't got one, no. My grandmother's dead, so it's painful for me to think of answering this question.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
She died 20 years ago, and I bought a Virtual Boy with the check that she sent.
Wow.
Auspiciously 2 weeks before she died.
I'm Brandon Sheffield. If I were to recommend a visual novel to somebody's grandmother, it would either be Hotel Dusk or Ace Attorney. Your average grandma could enjoy both of those.
Yeah.
So Hotel Dusk is a visual novel? I thought it was an adventure game.
It's a visual novel.
I just want to say here real quick that the main reason I didn't want to answer this question, despite a developing interest in visual novels, is I don't want to get into my too many thoughts on what is and isn't a visual novel. I made a video about Tokimeki Memorial and have received non-stop questions from viewers. Tokimeki Memorial isn't in English. Can you recommend any visual novels that are in English? And I'm like, ooh, my head wants to explode because Tokimeki Memorial is not a visual novel. I know that much.
Well,
I have two strong thoughts on what is and what isn't a visual novel. I won't get into them though. So thank you.
I'm loose with it, and I would be as happy to call Tokimeki Memorial a visual novel as I would Ace Attorney or Hotel Dusk, which you could absolutely also call adventure games or something else entirely.
I think to lump adventure games in with visual novels, it kind of undercuts the massive amount of talent that goes into making a lot of these visual novels.
I mean, there's a lot of talent that goes into making visual novels as well. Like,
well, that's what I said. Visual novels. That's what I said.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean also to call Tokimeki Memorial a visual novel is also pretty reductive because the dating simulation has, in my findings, far more in common with the JRPG.
The JRPG and or the Raising Sim as well.
Yeah,
I would say, but. Anyway, I'm keeping it fast and loose.
Yeah, do what you got to. I don't know.
If we limit the term of visual novel just to like games made by Leaf or Kid, like Memories Off Pure or whatever, I don't know, we don't have much, so that's why I'm willing to push it forward a little bit.
What's the difference between a visual novel and a sound novel, then?
That's an excellent question. But sound novels can release on a CD.
What's the difference
by
between a sound
themselves.
novel and a podcast? That's another question.
You can't put a podcast on a CD. That's illegal.
The difference is I'm not on a sound novel right now. Question number 1. What is your Last Starfighter game? Which is to say, a game that is actually a program to identify the perfect person to do the gameplay in real life in order to assist an alien race.
Tokimeki Memorial. That's my Last Starfighter game. So in the Last Starfighter, the guy was so good at the game that the alien race found him. I've gotten so good at Tokimeki Memorial
That, like, the ladies find you? What?
Yeah, Shiori came to your house?
There's going to be some planet of Shiori worshippers who are trying to get her, and they're gonna bang down my door with a battering ram and arrest me and bring me in and make me the chief detective in charge of the operation of taking down Shiori, who on that planet is a serial killer, not a girl in a high school. So
the question is specifically, what are we super good at that we would attract the aliens? Is that...
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the plot of the Last Starfighter, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right.
Yep.
Is that the question? Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like create, like imagine someone else being the Last Starfighter. I am the Last Starfighter. Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched that movie when I was like 8 years old, or 9 years old, and then I forgot about it until now. So...
Well, congratulations.
But you remembered exactly enough, which is all that anyone remembers of that movie, which is the one sentence plot. So you have enough to you are equipped for this question.
I learned that from you just speaking, actually. So,
Critically, you have to do it in real life, too. You won't be holding a controller. You will be somehow performing the video game actions.
Yeah.
So I gotta be good at something? Good luck.
I've got to be able to predict Shiori's actions. Shiori in this world is a serial killer who has been taunting the police from her like glass fortress atop a giant pyramid, where she just extracts and enacts and exacts her revenge on the people of the planet somehow, and I need to trick her into becoming my friend.
So the only game I think been like kind of exceptional at are the Oendan.
That's
games.
Oendan, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tempting to just be like, I'll be the cheerleader that helps us eradicate the aliens or whatever, right? I will go to the I don't even want to say it. Go to the military and cheer for them. I can't see myself doing that.
Yeah,
but
you got to respect the troops, though. I mean, that's all.
I mean, if they're like,
doesn't matter what planet they're on.
Space Force now, right? I can't.
Oh no! God!
I can't bring myself, even in fantasy world, to do this job of
I'm doing my
cheering
part.
On violence.
Would you like to learn more?
Starship trooping.
Yep.
Yeah. But it'd be something like that, and I don't think it translates into cheering. Being able to recognize patterns and react quickly. But I guess the closest analog, I don't know, it's like line reading piano or something, right? like
yeah.
Reading 3 notes ahead and doing it quickly. So I don't know, maybe I'll become a virtuoso and the play some really beautiful music that makes the aliens cry and stop eating us.
That's good.
I am not no good at nothing, so I hope that humanity is not relying on me at any point to do a video game action.
Ain't no video game you ever played that you're better than everybody else at it. There ain't one of those.
Definitely not.
No,
there's not. No, for sure there isn't.
For me, it was NBA Jam was the one that came to mind immediately, and it's like I can't imagine. That's basically what Space Jam, where I would be Bugs Bunny or I would be Michael Jordan. Which one would I be? Would I be Bill Murray?
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't want to give that answer because it just sounded like Space Jam.
There are brief periods where I'm the best at Oscar 120% of everybody that I know, and then someone goes away for 2 weeks, and now I'm not the best anymore. Storied beginning of insert credit was when I was briefly better at Puyo Puyo 4, Puyo Puyon on the Dreamcast than Vincent Diamante, co-founder of insert credit. Then he went away for 2 weeks and just demolished me when he would set up combos and throw his controller on the ground, and I couldn't do anything, even though his controller was on the ground. So the answer is, if I'm what we're relying on, we're all gonna die.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Just real quick addition to mine, which is that my making the aliens stop eating us because of beautiful music is the plot of the first Mother game, which I'm also apparently very good at because everyone says it's too hard, and I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
That game ain't no too hard game.
It ain't. People just don't think. They just like hit everything. What? Like you got them psychic powers, and everything's actually kind of balanced. Even Mount Etoy, which is like supposed to be like ridiculously hard, like there's a strategy if you pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot that I was number 1 in the world at the free to play iPhone game Princess Pajama at one point.
PPJ.
So if it comes to like deploying...
I almost want you to not describe how this game plays, but I'll let you go ahead.
It's just one of those tower offense games where you deploy troops at the right vector and gather resources at the right.
You gotta respect those troops.
So if I guess I would be deploying troops and harvesting their dead goo to feed other troops. To make them go forward again.
Eat those dead boys.
Yeah, eat those dead boys up.
Right?
Yep.
Incredible.
Question 2. How would you redesign pinball to be more of a 30-minute game experience instead of a 5-minute game experience?
Oh, I was just playing Alien/Aliens, the newish pinball game that lets you play either Alien or Aliens depending on which scenes you want to watch. And one answer is that, like, I want to see all this. Well, I have a better answer than this, but
FMV cutscenes is your
FMV
answer.
cutscenes is my answer. No, but the gameplay is different depending on the cutscene, like what you're targeting toward, and like when there's like a horde of aliens coming toward you, that's the multi-ball and stuff. But anyway, a better answer than that is just make one of those fantasy pinballs. Digital fantasy pinballs. I love those. Like, Fantastic Pinball on the PS1 and Saturn. Devil's Crush, Alien Crush.
Love those Alien Devils, yeah.
You just make it so that there's a lot of spaces to go.
Mm-hmm.
There's also that, Whoever's Island Express.
Yoku's Island Express.
Yoku's Island Express.
The Pinball Metroidvania.
Yep.
Decent game.
Any of those ways are good.
I haven't played that, but that sounds like what everyone thinks Pinball Quest on the NES is without playing it. So.
Yes, definitely.
And then you play it, and you just you start just smashing holes in the wall with your fists.
I liked Pinball Quest anyway, even though it was bad. As a youth, I didn't know about that. I didn't know about stuff being better or worse.
I did, and I hated it.
Well, Tim, I'll let me set the scene for you. I was used to playing games on my 2600 and Intellivision. Those were the consoles that I had.
I had a 2600 probably before you did.
Probably you
did.
did.
I know what you mean.
I'm almost certain you did.
We had a big old cardboard box full of just horrible games.
I went to meet my stepbrother and stepsister, and they had an NES that they shared that their dad had bought them. And the first game I played was Pinball Quest, and I was like, oh man, this is way more advanced.
Oh, that's why you like it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the only reason you like it. Okay, got it.
Was your reaction to playing an NES for the first time just like anger? That's what mine was. I was so mad when I went to my friend's house and he had Super Mario Brothers. I was like, what is this? And why is this good? We tried to get our mom to buy us an NES for Christmas, our mom and dad, and our mom said, "Yous boys already have an Atari." And I was like, Nintendo's the real games, Mom. And that phrase has stuck with me my whole life. Nintendo is the real video games, Mom.
That used to be true till Sega came along.
Yeah, Sega is what Nintendo don't. So pinball, who amongst us has not sauntered in, just kind of swaggered into an arcade at some point in their life, plunked in a token, and begun playing a game? And it's just, and then you eventually, you get it, right?
Mm.
You get it, and you're like, all right, I don't need to play this anymore. And then it just keeps going, and then you end up walking away from the arcade machine. Have you had this?
I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
When was the first? Do you have it off the top of your head? Do you remember the first time you did this?
I do, but I can't remember the name of it. It is a pinball machine, not a video game.
I was about to say, for me, it was also a pinball machine.
It was one where there's like a holographic projection of a screen on the field, like in the back, and it is an alien invasion thing. So whatever that game is, I played that machine for a good, like, I don't know, felt like 10, might have just been 5 minutes, and just been like, I'm bored. What was yours, Tim?
I mean, it matters not. It was just, what I'm saying is, sometimes I recall as a child playing all the pinball machines that showed up in the arcades and pizzerias of the various United States military installations scattered across this continent. I would play any pinball game, and every once in a while you'd play one, and it was too loose with the multi-ball. There was just something hinky about it. Hinky's the only word I can think of to describe. There was some avuncular adjective about the game, and that made you just be like, it didn't feel right. It felt like the game was making fun of you, right? So I feel like the very first time I walked away from a game, I'm not going to name and shame this particular pinball table, which might have had a difficulty setting tweaked on it. It was just like, I'd gotten like 9 free balls. Did, the owner's nephew get under there and rig it to have more fun? So what I'm saying is, pinball should feel a little mean in general. And if you want pinball that is a longer, more engaging experience, roll back the clock until you're at pachinko again. And then that's basically it. And then, get a bucket of balls and you're playing pachinko, which is just cruel, fatalistic casino pinball, which I believe is the true potential of the art form. Thank you. Everybody play Pachio-kun's Adventure for a PlayStation.
Or PC Engine.
I want to throw in a pinball game before we run out of time that I think is worth examining, which is Flipnik. I think is really interesting.
Oh, that game's dope.
Designed by a former Capcom fighting game planner and Ape Escape team member, and also the Fantavision designer. Is this really bizarre Sony developed large-ish pinball world. I don't know that it really has like a narrative or anything, but it's one of those things where it's multiple tables connected to each other and really weird and interesting sound design and very relaxing. And it is one that I think a half hour is about right. That was the question, right? Half hour?
Yep.
Yeah, like that is a perfect half hour pinball is Flipnik, I think.
And just to throw it in there, Tim, to your question about the game that you're like, okay, I get it. It's a little unfair, but it was Pac-Man set to free play. Someone set Pac-Man to free play.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of without the threat of death, I was like, all right.
I get it, I guess. No thrill in performing well at Pac-Man if you can just start over and there's no stakes. Yep. I would say also the anti-answer to this question is not Sonic Spinball.
Sonic Spinball.
More Kirby Pinball.
That's the music of that game.
It's more Kirby's Pinball or Kirby Tilt and Tumble or one of those gimmicky Game Boy games than Sonic Spinball.
Man, I love those gimmicky pinballs.
Metroid Prime Pinball.
Yeah, Metroid Prime Pinball.
I like that one. Somebody stole mine.
I don't like the Mario one, though. Mario's pretty bad.
Yeah, the Mario Pinball, weirdly, is awful. I can't believe they remade Metroid Prime, and they haven't remade Metroid Prime Pinball yet. When's that happening? Huh?
Yeah, get on it.
Those dirtbags.
The heck?
I know in a previous episode we talked about, or the pod talked about, the bump combat in Ys Book 1 and 2 being like very pinball adjacent. That would be very good.
Yeah.
A true pinball quest.
All right, question 3. What fighting game has the most creative single-player campaign?
Well, I mean, everybody just kind of wants to, it's like baiting somebody into talking about Toe Ball number 2 or whatever, right? Where they got the big old dungeon and you're down in there fighting 100 playable characters.
But I was trying to think if that really counts. Like, because it's...
I don't really think it does. Well, I mean, yeah, it does. I don't know.
I guess it does.
It was a mind blower at the time, but it was usually a long distance mind blower.
I think that only counts if, like, Batman Forever counts, which is just like Probe took Mortal Kombat and made a side-scrolling Batman game. You know, isn't that kind of the same thing?
Yeah, so does Guilty Gear Izuka count because they made a side-scrolling beat-em-up out of Guilty Gear?
No,
almost, but it doesn't feel...
I think it has to be in the game.
Yeah.
Tobal number 2 was a one-on-one fighting game. And when I call it a long-distance mind blower, I mean it blew the minds of people who had probably never played it, right? Like you would see screenshots of it on a website.
I saw a commercial, and I mean I forgot about it until now. But like I was very fascinated by the commercial for a 3D fighting game in a dungeon. Like,
yeah, that has a whole dungeon mode that's how you unlock all the characters. I actually have a better one than that, but let's hear what Brandon thinks is a better one than that.
So mine is a better one to think about rather than to play, but Revengers of Vengeance on the Sega CD was an RPG fighting game, and your stats would go up, and you had an overworld, but all the fighting game battles were fighting game battles. But it had this RPG mode, and it was in there.
You know, I love that genre.
Yes.
Yeah, the
weird RPG.
Final Lap Twin, whatever that tennis game is.
World Circuit Tennis, something like that. World Championship Court Tennis.
I love getting in random battles that are not RPG fights.
Yeah.
Whatever that Famicom series where you play as a pachinko ball is, there's like a casino one of those. Like
that's Pachio-kun, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Pachio-kun, dude.
That probably became a whole series.
Game rules.
It did. Like there's a PC Engine one. Tim was talking about the PlayStation 1 one. We're all,
which is basically just it's like the PC Engine one, but somehow like weirdly worse.
So we're all coming to this series, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's Pachio-kun is the answer to all of the questions on this episode.
God love Pachio-kun. I would say the best, in all seriousness, the best one-on-one fighting video game with single player, the best single player like content in a one-on-one fighting game in history. I will go 100% to bat for not Tekken 3, which had Tekken Ball mode and the Brawler mode that was really awful. I would say another Namco classic, Soul Edge, also known as Soul Blade, for the PlayStation 1, had a quest mode that had a whole bunch of historical details about all the characters. They were really, really entrenched in making it a historical fighting game that taught you stuff about history. And it's like you read the bios for the characters. It's like Mitsurugi, height 4'11" or whatever, because people were short in the 16th century, right? It's like it was kind of cool. And then you would unlock like a million outfits and a million weapons that all did different effects, and every battle had different different restrictions on it. There was a cool world map that you could go on and try to S rank the fights and whatnot. It was just it was a really, really dope experience. And that game also famously had like 3 soundtracks to it. It had the original arcade version, it had an orchestral arranged soundtrack, and then it also had the Khan Super Session, which was what they called the 3rd soundtrack. That was wild. It wasn't even remixes, it was just new weird stuff. And that quest mode was just beautiful because every character had a million things and an ending. It was good stuff.
I could also see a good case for just King of Fighters in general, because each bit that you finish of the story kind of adds to the larger story, and it has a lot of mysteriousness to it. But that's just like extremely straight. So it's weird. But there were like team combinations that you could get special endings from and things, and that felt like something at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Quick Pachio-kun fun fact. We want one of those?
Let's hear more about Pachio. Yeah, good old Pachio. Love that guy.
Hero of the show.
I'm assuming we're talking about the same character. The Coconuts in Japan was the publisher. Is that who we're talking about?
Could be. I don't remember.
So there was a Famicom game called American Dream, and that's the one I was thinking of, which is you play as a pachinko ball, and it's a overhead sort of RPG, and you go in casinos and play games and stuff. So that was Coconuts Japan. Coconuts US was a company that existed in 1989 and signed up to be a licensee for Nintendo and never shipped anything and disappeared. And I cannot figure out who ran it or anything, but
that rules.
But they submitted 2 games to NOA and neither got published. And one of them was a localization of American Dream, which I just cannot imagine in 1989 in the
We weren't ready
US.
for that.
Like, we were not ready for
We're
that.
not ready for that. Man, Coconuts Japan, I'll start up your new branch. I'll do it.
The other one was a bowling game that never came out even in Japan, but a prototype came out, so it's online. Go find it.
Pachia's bowling.
No, he's not in it.
Question number 4. If Capcom had made a Mega Man Legends every year since 1997, like FIFA, what would it be like now?
Oh,
Awful. It'd be so bad.
It'd be a games as a service by now. It probably
Yeah,
would
it
have
would
been
be
since
NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so Capcom made Monster Hunter, which is like the light side version of a games as a service game. You know, speaking in Force terms and Star Wars vocabulary here, right? So it's Monster Hunter's like the paragon path of the games as a service game. I feel like it would be somewhere around there. I don't know.
It could be a Fortnite at that point because like you download your new Mega Man characters and you run, like it might. I guess I could see Capcom going more in like an MMO direction, and then they would have a Fortnite mode.
Yeah, it seems so stupidly obvious for there to be some kind of a Capcom Mega Man Battle Royale game where you make your own Robot Master, right? And you get to design your own Mega Man robot. That just seems like a really stupidly obvious thing. Mega Man Legends 2024 would probably be something like that at this point.
Yeah, because they would have built it up over all this time. Because FIFA has like running around modes, going into a mall, getting your Date Farm outfit or whatever. There's just all that extra nonsense in there, and so I think that Mega Man probably would have gotten to that. They would have gotten to it like by way of PlayStation Home or some bizarre way of getting there. But I think that's probably what would have happened.
Or
we'd just be getting seasons.
Or it would just be a completely impenetrable story, like Kingdom Hearts, but worse at this point.
Yeah,
and like you have to read multiple like comic and manga series, some of which have never been translated. In order to fully understand, like a character shows up and you're just expected to know who they are, and they were like in something that was never outside of Japan.
There's a dramatic angle, and it's like, oh my god, I can't believe they're back from the dead, and it's like I've never seen this person.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
It would be exactly like that.
Roll sister lol.
The art style would not be interesting anymore. It would be completely uninteresting now.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be like ugly. It would just be boring.
It would have, at some point in the last, 12 years, it would have become too modern anime for a large portion of the fan base. Yeah. It would have become way too, they would have redrawn the faces. It would have been akin to something like what happened between Tokimeki Memorial 1 and Tokimeki Memorial 2, and then Tokimeki Memorial 2 to Tokimeki Memorial 3, right? Like the faces would just become too...
And the 90s really messed everybody up with anime. It's just like the eyeballs, they kept taking more and more facial real estate.
Yeah.
And the chins just kept receding.
That was phenomenal.
The nose is disappearing.
The late 80s, early 90s, that's the sweet spot, right? And that's where Mega Man has kind of always hovered, right?
You don't want to Saber Marionette J, the Mega Man series. You're going to get in some trouble.
Yeah, so they would have gone through a sort of a Guilty Gear looking phase, and then they would have gone through a just ultra modern anime phase, and they would slowly be modernizing it. I mean, they would be all about HDR. There would be ray tracing in the PC version because you get your shiny metal shining.
Oh, come on. You actually think they're going to put effort into the PC version? Come on.
I mean, well, okay. Well, the console versions have ray tracing as well.
Yeah,
so
I'll give you the console one. Yeah, and then the PC one comes out and it doesn't for some reason.
It would have poorly performing everything.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to get HDR going in a PC game? It doesn't make. I don't understand it.
I think they'd have Dr. Wily and Dr. Wowie at this point.
Oh, like a split universe thing.
Split universe where Dr. Wowie is also there.
There'd be some kind of multiverse.
Every time there was a new release, people would find that they reused one animation and the tweet about it would blow up.
Oh, yeah. Also, Tron Bon would be so hot. just ridiculously hot in like a really creepy way at this point. And, I mean, that's a thing for real. I mean...
Yeah.
I think it would have become a sort of, what I'm saying is I think it would have become a sort of Monster Hunter like, except with more of a stronger single player component than Monster Hunter. And every year they're just they're adding more quests, because that seems to be what they've funneled their brain into. So assuming, what I'm saying is if Mega Man Legends had, like FIFA, a new installment every year between 1997 and now, I don't think we would have Monster Hunter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And you would be, it would be a Phantasy Star Online like at this point, where you're going into dungeons to fight new robot monsters developed by Dr. Wily, who you just can't kill the guy. He keeps escaping the justice, and then you and your friends, who are your custom-made robot dudes, would have to go in and fight Monster Hunter style legendary Dr. Wily guys in these new environments created every year. And it would be DLC at this point.
I think we would still have Lost Planet, though, because Lost Planet would be like the realistic version.
Oh yeah,
of Mega Man Legends.
I mean, I think Mega Man Legends 2023 would probably look a lot like Lost Planet.
Mm-hmm.
They would probably even have Lee Byung-hun playing Mega Man at this point. They would have attached some like uber hot Korean celebrity at some point to Mega Man, and he would, despite being deep into middle age at this point, he'd still be playing Mega Man. They'd still have him on the hook.
Switch him over to Dr. Wily.
One of his reliable paychecks.
Dr. Light.
Yeah.
He's not that old.
Dr. Light? How old is Dr. Light?
Dr. Light is old. I mean,
how old is he now at this point? Check his Wikipedia.
Well, in this timeline, in the current Legends game, he's actually like infinite, because he's sort of a combination of every soul that has ever been. So you can't really put a number on it in Mega Man Legends. It started in 23? Mega Man Legends 23.
That makes sense.
Like, is he like that? Whoever Bryan Cranston was in Power Rangers at this point? I feel like the face in Power Rangers.
That was Bryan Cranston?
Yeah, dude. You didn't know that?
Zordon was Bryan
Zordon,
Cranston.
that's his name. Yeah, that was Bryan Cranston.
What?
Yeah, dude. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
He was also in the new Power Rangers movie that came out. That was
so like in the OG Power Rangers, like
yeah,
the first
and he reprised the character in the new Power Rangers movie, because he's just such a cool guy, I guess.
I don't think that's true, but let's find out.
I don't know, man. You don't think it's true?
So
that's interesting.
That was Bryan Cranston and Invader Zim were the people in that room. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, that guy rules, right? Doesn't he?
That's not Bryan Cranston. No way.
No.
All right, question number 5. No Man's Sky just got its 24th content update.
Dang.
What game would have most flourished with this much after release developer support?
Mega Man Legends.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
I mean, I just read a pretty good Luke Plunkett editorial about Cyberpunk that sort of is along these lines, but that is not my answer. But it is something that comes to mind as kind of a fun read. Go look that up on Kotaku.
Yeah, it's basically everything that I said in my review, except with less.
It only took me like 20 minutes.
Except with much less fun, and about less than 1% the jokes. So I would say less than 0.1% the jokes. Well, also Bryan Cranston wasn't Zordon in the TV. I never saw the TV show. So
I knew it. David J. Fielding.
I never watched that show. David J. Fielding.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched the Power Rangers Christmas special last year, so
well, Bryan Cranston was in the movie. Okay. The newer movie, which I found very funny.
Fair enough.
So that's fun.
You were probably more into Sentai's U-Ranger.
Oh yeah, the Japanese.
or VR Troopers.
I never saw any of that stuff.
What were we talking about?
Yeah, what was the question?
I didn't watch Power Rangers. I watched VR Troopers.
That's right.
I watched.
I don't watch none of that stuff.
Beetleborgs, was that the name of that one?
Oh,
Beetleborgs was definitely one. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep, Masked Rider.
I don't watch none of that stuff.
The question was, what game would have most flourished with a No Man's Sky style after developer?
Right, yeah. Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good joke. Ultima Online.
That's not true.
No, it's not
like
true.
That game has degraded and is still online as far as I can tell.
It is. I believe it is still up there. Yeah. Wait, Phantasy Star Online. Because then that means the Dreamcast is still going, so it benefits all of us.
You don't think that they just moved on to the next platform?
Not in this universe that I'm creating right now.
I see.
Oh, well, okay, maybe they moved on to the next Sega platform that they were able to make because they were
got it. Okay.
because they were able to keep going.
Would Sega have made more broadband adapters, though? Is the real question.
They would have had to because of their amazing success that I'm inventing for them.
The incredible demand that happened, yeah. And that GameCube keyboard controller would actually be a Dreamcast one.
That's right. And the Dreamcast broadband adapter would cost like 5 cents now instead of $200.
Yeah.
So it's a good universe. Every time I see a Dreamcast out in the wild, I immediately flip it around to see if there's a broadband adapter on there. Because I don't got one. I don't have. I thought I did. I think I did at one time, but I cannot find my original Japanese Dreamcast. I think it's lost to the winds of time, unfortunately. So honk.
All right, I'm having a hard time with this question because I like games that just end. You know?
Yeah, me too.
So also, I mean, the No Man's Sky has become sort of a favorite hypothetical conversation piece. It was basically released in early access, but they didn't call it early access. They just called it the release, and people got mad, and they just finished the game gradually as sort of DLC. So it was kind of a communication problem, right? I mean, I don't know,
but also, they did manage to turn it around to have a big community and that warranted 24 content updates, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, the community that stuck with them, and but a lot of those people turned out to just be kind of, you know, the weirdos who were like, oh yeah, you finally added this. When are you gonna add this? Right. So I guess that's what gets gamers going these days.
Being mad.
Is being mad and then seeing the developers do the thing that they suggested and feeling like the developer only did it because they suggested it.
That is definitely not a slippery slope there. Yeah.
It's you say Phantasy Star. Fine. Phantasy Star Online's fun, and it's like Phantasy Star Online formed the basis for Monster Hunter, very obviously, right?
Certainly.
So, do you remember, Brandon? Because I do. I remember some people that I knew in person, like human people. Those people being very disappointed in Phantasy Star Online because they wanted a single player content.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know anybody like this?
I did know a couple of people like that, but I mean later they added some like for the GameCube ones and that.
What if they added a big old full Skies of Arcadia style RPG to it at some point in the future?
I'd play it.
That would be the No Man's Skying of that particular game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was me with that game. I to be fair, I played it only offline as part of my, like, how many Dreamcast games can I buy for $5 or less in 2001 binge.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a very good single player. I never connected online because I didn't care. But if that was a really good single player, I mean, I was a Phantasy Star fan at that point, so I would have played the heck out of it.
Yeah, if they would have patched in a full-blooded, big, grade A premium ground beef RPG, you know, for people to play and enjoy,
and like actually connected it to the old games a little bit more. Like once in a while, one of the songs would come back, and you'd be like, "Oh, I know this one."
I was just reading some stuff about the development of that and how they very few people that worked on the original games were even in Sega at that time, and so they were free to kind of do whatever they want with Phantasy Star Online. It was just wild for me to think they were like, because it had been so long since Phantasy Star 4. They had all this freedom, whatever. But that so long was like 5 years. It was like from a Genesis game, there wasn't one on the Saturn, and then they were on the Dreamcast. And like when you think about how small a gap that is, but how large a technological leap happened during that time period, it's interesting and weird to think about. So when Phantasy Star 4 come out, was it 94, 93, 94?
I think it was like 95, 96. Like it was kind of a late one, wasn't it?
It was late, but maybe 94, maybe 95. But
it's a tasty game.
It's just wild to think that they were like, since it's been so long, and they're talking about like starting the project in 1999, 4 years later.
So Japan end of 93, North America beginning
94.
of 95.
95, wow.
So basically in 1994.
Europe end of 95, 2 years later.
Sorry, Europe.
Those losers.
get hecked.
And it was probably also a PAL version, too.
Oh, ew.
Yeah.
God, Pal smells like cigarettes.
Fantasy Star 4 is pretty cool.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Cannot find my goddarn phone. That's why I couldn't look up Bryan Cranston right away.
I have heard that urban legend about Bryan Cranston and Power Rangers before.
He might have been in an episode, but he was not Zardon. I did watch that show, and it was like a big jowly man.
Have you watched the Sentai series that it's based on?
No, I haven't.
So I watched it really recently, and it rules.
Several series, I suppose, that it's based on. But
Yeah. It's like that first season of Power Rangers, though. It's like they are like ancient dinosaur evolved beings, like in the Mario Brothers movie.
Okay.
And like there's all this magic. It sort of rules.
I'm into it.
Alright, question 6. In level 2 of the Intellivision game Ice Trek, you build an ice bridge using a grappling hook to grab passing river icebergs, shooting fireballs with a torch to prevent incoming icebergs from destroying it.
Alright.
What is your favorite novel gameplay mechanic or moment in the midst of an otherwise unremarkable game?
Shoot. That's a big question, Jerry.
Yeah. And I feel like it's sort of leading the witness to start with this weird Intellivision game.
The Witness? Those line puzzles.
The witness?
In the middle of a game about just walking around in 3D in a place with cool art direction. Boring. The line puzzles, exciting.
Yeah.
Leading the Witness.
That's right. Man, I'm going to come up with something eventually. What about Tobal number 1, where they had a really cool dungeon section in the middle of the
Well, Tobal number 2, it's better, though.
Yeah, Tobal number 2, yeah.
Yeah. That's not a mechanic, though. That's a mode.
I'm still waiting for Tobal number 3.
Well, it's even better than Tobal number 2 is Mambo number 5.
Yeah.
You ever play that one?
If only anybody knew the names of like any of the 98 playable characters in Tobal number 2, they could put together a really good Mambo number 5 cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just listing off the names of the characters. But nobody knows who any of those characters are. They simultaneously had Akira Toriyama and asked him to make as much frivolous trash as he could, which, fun challenge for any artist who commands big dollars, I suppose.
Okay, so I need you to repeat the end of the question. I don't need the Ice Trek part.
Are you sure? I'd be happy to talk about Ice Trek more.
No, don't talk about Ice Trek again.
That's novel mechanic in the middle of an otherwise unremarkable game, right?
Yeah.
A mechanic or a moment. This was a middle level that was mechanically different than the others.
So that's going to be, for me, an older game because I haven't had time for media. Oh, wait. Actually, I take it back. I really like the first dungeon music in Harvestella, which is a pretty unremarkable game. I was about to say that this was only going to be from my past then, because I have stopped playing unremarkable games for very long, but that is false because I'm playing Harvestella. That music is really cool, and it kind of sounds like you can't even really... There's vocals in it that at first you can't tell if they're vocals at all, and then once you focus on them, it's really neat and weird. To me, that was something that let me go through kind of the rest of the game, is the hope that there will be more music like that that's interesting enough. So that kind of got me. Oh, and also in that game, because you can be non-binary, and I was like, oh, that's a little interesting, but that's as far as that goes.
Interesting.
I'm having a really hard time with this. Like, I've come up with some joke answers, like when you're playing BioShock and suddenly you do some hacking and it's a sliding puzzle or whatever. It's incredible. But
yeah, that's just the Witness joke again, though.
It is, exactly.
When you learn you can jump in the Witness, dude.
Blows your mind.
When you finally get the gun in the Witness, that was pretty cool, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, I was disappointed by how many things didn't, break. He just kind of did the decals. It just didn't seem like him, but I don't know.
The Witness turns into the Hitness. I mean, this is a weird thing that could cause Tim and I to get into a whole long conversation later. But Final Fantasy 15, I sure liked everything that wasn't the main game in that.
Same. No,
But the main game wound up being that for me. So fishing, side quests, running around, that was the game. And then I had to get distracted by the stupid story.
A common conversation is to talk about how good the side quests are in a game as though you're like, this is like every conversation about The Witcher 3, for example. It's like, it's actually pretty good is the side quests. So talk about the side quests like they're secret, right? Like you're not supposed to touch them, like they're forbidden.
In Final Fantasy 15, it's like they are made by different groups of people, and they probably were. Like there were two games in opposition there, and I liked one of them.
Well, I mean, in Final Fantasy VII, all those mini games were made by like Namco or Tosei or like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like the submarine thing. Final Fantasy VII,
riding that motorcycle.
Okay, I'm going to throw something out just to see if it spurs any ideas.
All right.
Because I don't have any. But I like when a game uses its existing mechanics in a very weird way out of nowhere in the middle of it to do something else. I just can't think of any examples.
I like that also, if I could think of examples. I thought of something that's totally different, which is a mode I really liked in a game I really liked. But the mode was very different, which is the cabaret, basically diner dash mode in many of the Yakuza 0 and Remix.
Oh, that's a sweet one, yeah.
I love playing through that. As soon as I get the opportunity to do it, I basically stop playing Yakuza and finish that cabaret game as much as is possible.
That's absolutely not a unremarkable game, though.
No, that's the problem.
The Yakuza games possess this miraculous balance of, I mean, even if you hate the combat in Yakuza games, which some people do, right? Or you just mash the, I was about to say the X button, because I play them on my Xbox controller. The square button, I believe, would be the button if you're playing on PlayStation. If you just mash the square button, the game might be unremarkable to you. Just press the triangle button every once in a while. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, hit it sometimes.
Just press it sometimes. You just go back and forth on them. Those games are just too remarkable.
Yeah.
The cut scenes are good. The side quests are good.
We frequently remark on them, so.
Yeah, they're just too. The cut scenes are good. The side quests are good.
Yeah.
The walking around is fun.
Mm-hmm.
I even occasionally enjoy just punching a random couple of dudes in those games. I don't know.
Yep. Sometimes I like just standing there.
Yeah, just standing around and like rotating the camera really slowly.
Standing around, rotating the camera, looking at all the things. I found Frank's house. Frank, remember? I sent you a picture of it.
Franco.
There was a building in Yakuza Kiwami or Kiwami 2 called Frank's house.
Oh,
I pronounce it Kiwami.
Kiwami. Yeah. So the answer is no. We can't think of one.
Yeah.
The answer is a Space Harrier in Shenmue. That's a joke about Shenmue.
Blasted. Destroyified.
Shenmue's good, whatever.
What is the best video game to play in 15-minute sessions?
Oh, 15-minute sessions, eh? Guilty Gear? I don't know.
Half of Half Minute Hero. Wait, no. Many times of Half Minute Hero. Actually, I do think Half Minute Hero is really good to play in 15-minute sessions because
people won't stop asking me why I don't talk about fighting games. Of course, I play fighting games. If I ever want to play a video game for 15 minutes, I turn on Guilty Gear. Thank you.
My actual answer is channel surfing a flashcard or a mister.
Oh yeah.
15 minutes to kill and just like load up some trash.
Channel surfing a mister's that's my nighttime treat.
Yeah.
Frank, do you take notes if you find a good one?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I do not. But I mean, I try to channel surf things like Amiga, MSX, Commodore 64. I try not to do the obvious consoles, and especially with Amiga, it's often very rewarding because people got real weird on that system.
They did.
Always British, but they got pretty weird, and it's
sometimes
it's like
French or German every once in a while.
That's true. Yeah. And they got weird in a way that has not inspired future games. So
which is really fascinating. Yeah. So in a way, the answer to the last question could be most Amiga games.
Yeah.
Well,
in the game of channel surfing Amiga, sometimes there's an interesting mechanic that happens in the unremarkable game of channel surfing the Amiga library.
That's right.
I like to light up cave shooters, but there are only so many cave shooters you can play on a Mister. I've got them all, and I do like to light up one of those and play for 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, that's a good one.
At a time.
Until we solve the problem of how to get them to be 30 minutes, I think pinball is a pretty good one.
Pinball is
15
pretty good.
minutes of
So it's like
playtime.
the whole 15-minute thing is interesting because like lately, games like I hate to bring up games as a service again. The old gas. It's like something like Destiny. If you're a Destiny player, right? It's real easy to turn on Destiny, and I've got 15 minutes before dinner. Like look at your watch, right? And you can do something. There's like so many different sizes of experience in there that you can just crack open a cold one and enjoy a 30-minute strike with your buddies, or whatever. Or you can take a 15-minute mission quest or whatever, grind for your loot if it please my lord. I would also say, not to, I will take no further questions on this, though. Also, I'll pop open Fortnite, like whatever, right? People also keep asking why we don't talk about Fortnite on this show. Why don't you guys talk about Fortnite? You're ignoring Fortnite.
I feel like we have talked about it a fair amount.
It is not my job to be current on video games.
Yeah, I know.
So I have not played Fortnite.
But you are ignoring Fortnite.
Yeah.
So, I'll talk about Fortnite now for a minute.
I ignore most games, actually.
Yeah, that's
that is one of them.
In fact, I think most of us ignore most video games, and that's the harsh truth we all have to face. Someone was commenting on how there's just a viral tweet by a streamer you've never heard of with 1 million Twitter followers, like every 6 months, that is commenting on a recent game announcement and being like, there's just no good video games anymore. And it's like they're always commenting on Call of Duty or whatever. It's like the people who are the most famous people in the world for talking about video games are ignoring 99.9. Yeah, they're ignoring more of them.
Because they have to, right?
Yeah.
Like they have to play the same game every day as a job. So they literally can't play anything else. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like there are so many good 15-minute experiences you can crack open in video games that have all the thrills of entire prestige video games. You can get a full Uncharted's worth of fun in 15 minutes of Fortnite if that's all the time you've got. Fortnite is very, very good. I mean, I thought PUBG was one of the best design exercises in video game history, and in terms of the top down, and Fortnite is one of the best heavy lifting exercises of game design in video game history as well. Just all the little tiny variables being heavily lifted from place to place. The design task there is absolutely unenviable, and it is a wonderfully well realized thing that exists in the world right now and is free. On any game console you own, you can light it up and have a meticulously, gorgeously good time. They even have really good on-ramping for you if you've never played before. The first time you play, you're going to be playing against a bunch of losers who are level 1 like you. There are so many people playing it all the time. This cannot be overstated. There are so many millions of people playing Fortnite at any given second of the day that you are guaranteed, especially with today's Gen 4 NVMe M.2 solid state drives, you are guaranteed to be playing Fortnite against humans in less than 20 seconds from double clicking it on your desktop. It's quite meticulous. You can have 15 minutes of fun. I'll light up Fortnite at the end of the day if I want to stop myself from reopening Adobe Premiere. I'll be like, well, I'll just click Fortnite instead. I'll do that. Whatever. We might as well talk about it. A lot of gamers are doing this. They're playing Fortnite, and they're just not talking about it. So I'm breaking the silence here. Brandon, do you play Fortnite? Do you play Fortnite, Brandon?
I played it a couple times.
Oh, okay. See, Brandon is confessing.
Yeah, I played it.
He's breaking the silence.
I'm also going to add that most Twine games you can play in about 15 minutes, and also Loop Hero is cool. Loop Hero is a good.
And I'll throw in my own weird one. I put on Densha Day Go, Hashiro Yamanote-sen for PlayStation 4 on my PlayStation 5, and I smoke it like a bong. Every once in a while, I'll do I'll do a stretch of the old Yamanote, and I'll really have a good time. Even though it is a very, I know. If there are any Densha Day Go elitists listening, I know it's a casual Densha Day Go game. I know it's
Nothing wrong with that.
It's not as hardcore as the old ones. They have a real good. It's almost like social games, mobile games did something good to some types of video games where they have these daily quests and whatnot. Any game that's got dailies in it, check those out. Thank you.
All right, everybody, let's go to the lightning round.
Oh wow! All right,
Boom.
strike me dead, Jerry.
If Richard Garriott is the Lord British of video games, who are the other lords? Let's start it out with Lord Canada.
Lord Canada.
Lord Canada is Dennis Dyack.
Dennis Dyack is dead.
That's the only one I can think of.
More like Dennis Didak.
We actually just saw him in person last week, so
Yep.
he is alive.
Yep.
And as far as we know, still in a Las Vegas casino. I don't know if he went home.
It's
Long
probably
live Lord
based on-
Canada.
Yeah.
Lord Canada, very good. Well, Lord Canadian, I believe, would be the proper pronunciation.
Yeah.
Lord Japanese.
Yuji Naka, dude. Wearing his
Yeah, it's
Balan
Yuji Naka,
Wonderworld
for
ruling, his Balan Wonderworld hat,
Yeah.
which is now the photo that is used. The man survived. He managed to scam the world for decades into using that picture of him when he was like 23. Like that same photo, that black and white, with that svelte-looking Sears photo studio-looking photo of himself. And now every time you see his jailing and his crimes mentioned, it's some goofy cell phone photo of him wearing a Balan Wonderworld hat.
It's very good.
He's just ruling over
I
the
think you're
Japanese video game landscape from his
from jail.
his throne of prison. Yeah.
All right, how about Lord Irish?
Oh, Lord Irish.
is the it's the guy that did Fear Effect.
Oh, that goddamn guy.
You know Fear Effect, the like PlayStation 1 game that had the toon shading and
Oh, I know Fear Effect.
sexy ladies and a whole lesbian scene.
I played all the way through Fear Effect 2 years ago. Was not very fun.
That's Lord Irish, IMHO.
Yeah, give it to him. I don't care.
All right, Lord Nordics.
Lord Nordics.
Lord Nordics? Is that Ragnar Tornquist, or is it somebody else?
There's a lot more Nordic game devs than him. And I don't...
No, I know, but he feels like he might be because the Lord is like, well, actually, it might be too insulting to him because the Lord, as we have somehow intuitively defined them, is someone who is definitely not the Lord.
Yeah.
But you know who they are.
But they
And-
might call themselves that.
They
I
might
don't think
call
Ragnar would
themselves
call
that.
himself that.
Yeah, and so that's why I think I'm probably wrong. It's the Startup guy.
Like,
probably.
we already know French. I mean, should we just skip that
We
one?
know Richard Garriott's not actually British, right?
Right.
You do know that. Everybody knows that, right?
Oh, right.
He's just a
yeah.
guy who started calling himself Lord British.
You know, I realize.
Oh,
that
he
we
was
didn't-
born in Cambridge, England. But
Okay.
he's not British.
No, he's not British. Yeah, what about that Stardot guy that kept doing scams? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Doesn't
No.
matter.
Are
That
we just
guy.
saying David
That
Cage
guy.
is Lord French? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
David Cage
yeah.
is Lord French for sure.
Yeah, okay. I mean, he's French as heck, and he's Lord French.
Yes.
I think he's Lord Cinema.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Lord Cinematique.
Lord British would be in the game, so it's like, does David Cage play his
Oh, yeah.
own games? Definitely.
He's
Oh,
in his
yeah.
own games, dude.
He's probably just sitting
Yeah.
there playing them
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
Yuji Naka's not in his own games.
Are you sure?
No.
Yeah, he's in there.
Maybe he's Sonic.
All right, what about Lord Korea?
Lord
dude.
Korea. Let's think.
Lee Byung-hun, star of Lost Planet.
It might be. I'm thinking about game creators. Man, there was that guy that did that series. I don't know. The people whose names I can think of, I don't want to throw under the bus, the proverbial bus. So, but maybe it should be whoever created that kart racer, the Nexon's kart racer game.
Kart Racer.
That I think it was just called Kart Racer. That then wound up basically making free-to-play games the thing for the entire.
Yeah, I don't know. I
world.
like my Lee Byung-hun answer. I think that's better.
Sure.
All right, finally, Lord American.
Lord American. It's got to be somebody from.
Oh, it's Lord British.
It's got to be somebody.
It's
From,
either Lord British.
Richard Garriott. Yeah, he holds dual citizenship. He's
That's right.
he's American
He's got
and
two
British. So,
It's Ken Levine.
oh, Ken Levine is
Oh,
Lord
yeah,
American.
Ken Levine, the American Dream. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's either him or that other one,
Mhm.
the Warren Spector.
WS.
Warren Spector's he'd be a pretty good Lord American. I don't know. I think they'd
Yeah.
have to have a clash for it. Can you
That's right.
imagine Ken Levine and Warren Spector
Duking it out.
like really going at each other
Yeah.
with
In
like
the ring.
fists or silverware or whatever, just kind of really, digging into each other? Can you imagine that?
I can. I don't want to,
The
though.
winner gets to eat the loser's corpse raw. Can you imagine that?
That's the ultimate
Yes.
I want to see.
Mhm.
That would be rough, dude.
Yeah.
One guy wearing a sweater vest.
No,
I
I
mean, I
wouldn't
thought
enjoy it.
about it, but I'm not.
don't
Maybe
think I'd
John
enjoy it.
Romero could be Lord American. He lives in
Sure, and
Ireland
he's,
now.
He lives in Ireland, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he could be Lord Ireland, Lord Irish.
Yeah.
Are there any game developers went to Notre Dame? Do you know if anybody knows this off the top of their head?
I
I
don't.
don't know. That could be Lord Irish.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
That's like the one Wikipedia entry list that doesn't exist. It's game developers who went to Notre Dame.
It should.
Okay, so in summary, best novel mechanic in an otherwise unremarkable game. Those pipe puzzles in BioShock, dude.
Yeah.
That's a joke. Did anybody play
There's
those?
a little circle back.
The hacking puzzles with the weird pipe things.
Yeah, the really incredible mechanic in the middle of an uninteresting game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move to recommendations.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do it.
I got some of those.
I mean, this is probably super obvious, but I think that Metroid Prime remaster is pretty incredible. I think it's great.
I've been smoking it. Small puffs.
Maybe I'll finally play
Been
it.
having a really good time. Brandon, even if you don't want to play it, just kind of watch the Digital Foundry video just to appreciate it as a remake.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it is we tried to define this at one point, right? Like remake versus remaster. So this is one that falls in between where
Yeah.
it's where it is
A remake?
clearly from source, slavishly recreating the mechanics and feel and everything, but all of the assets are newly made.
Everything's new. Yeah.
Yeah. And like they added a lighting system, which you should always do.
The Digital Foundry video was hilarious for me because I had already played the game for like 3 hours at that point, and the whole first 3 hours of the play experience, I was like, the old man, his World War II vet Cap, sitting in the front row, day one of Saving Private Ryan, telling his kid, "That's what it was like. That's exactly what it was like on the beach." And then I'm watching the Digital Foundry video, and I'm like, "Oh man, I guess I just don't really know what a GameCube game looks like."
Right.
Because I just had no idea. I was like, I definitely didn't know. I have no romanticism for GameCube games whatsoever. No offense to the GameCube. I know that. I mean, I think this Metroid Prime remaster is like about as big an update as the Wind Waker HD one was.
Mm-hmm.
For the Wii U, that Wind Waker HD, which why can't I get that on my Nintendo Switch, right? Give me some of that, right? I saw some people on Twitter being mad that there was like a large number of people were upset that the Metroid Prime remaster was $39.99, the $40, and they're like, it's an old game, it's 20 years old, why is it $40? It's like, okay, first of all, Nintendo, if this game had not been out of print for such a ridiculously long period of time, maybe people, I don't know. It's one of those games that it's always like, you should play Metroid Prime, you say to somebody, right? How many times in your life, Frank, you encountered a person who a conversation evolves and gets to a point where you're like, I should probably recommend a video game to this person. I know just the one. And then it's like, they're not going to play that because they can't, right? It's like Metroid Prime. You can't you couldn't just tell, I encounter I'm just going to say it. I speak to the young people every once in a while. They approach me on the street, literally. Like, literally. I live near a university where apparently a bunch of students watch my YouTube videos, and they approach me on the street or at Blue Bottle Coffee or whatever, and we talk about video games, and they're like, oh, I like this game. And I'm always like, oh, I know a game you should play. And then it's like, oh, how's this kid going to play that game? Yeah. Metroid Prime was that game during a conversation I had like 3 months ago with a kid outside the Blue Bottle Coffee. And I was like, how are you going to play that, though? You got a good enough PC to emulate it. You want to get a GameCube. Do you have a retro tank?
It doesn't take much of a PC to emulate it, but
it does.
People are very Brandon-like, and they're scared of that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, kids, college students with their little laptops or, whatever. Kids just kind of carry around iPads these days, I think.
I do want to say, having played this recently, having played them in this order, those guys sure did play Power Slave.
Yeah, dude.
Metroid Prime. They absolutely did.
Oh, yeah. Power Slave, Shadow Man. You know, there's a bunch of games in the DNA of Metroid Prime that go unsung. Metroid Prime is just a wonderfully, beautifully designed video game. If you are looking for a game that has all of the hallmarks of, I mean, it is the most Nintendo video game possible that is also the most modern video game possible. It has so much classic Nintendo in it. And it's as reinterpreted by these guys in Austin, Texas, 20-some years ago.
And I gotta say, like, I did not care about the 4 coming out because I had barely played 1 and that was it. But I'm ready. I'm ready for 4 now. Like, that worked on me. Like, they marketed correctly. I paid $40 for them to market Metroid Prime 4 to me and then sell it to me. I
am ready to have spent $120 on all 3 of them if that's their plan.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, yeah, I'll get the next one. And I'm sure they're gonna, if they surprise release Metroid Prime 2, quote unquote the bad one, which surprise, still a great video game. Metroid Prime 2 is the one people said was bad. If you all don't know this, ignore that though. It's a lovely video game. And Metroid Prime 3, also a lovely video game. I've played them all exactly once. And Metroid Prime 1, I'm now playing the second time. Did you beat it, Frank?
No. I'm maybe like 30-40% in or something.
It's surprisingly real good all the way. So enjoy. Have a good time with that one. It's a very good little video game. It's a good full-size video game. I love the backtracking.
Brandon, you got recommendations?
Oh, yeah.
Something you watched on VHS that people are going to have to look up on eBay?
Yeah.
That's a joke. What do we got?
One recommendation is to watch out for when you're buying coconut milk and other products, watch out for companies that use monkey slaves. I don't know if you knew about this. It's just been on my mind lately. There's a company called Chowco that definitely uses monkey slaves, but yeah, they just basically have a bunch of chained up monkeys that do the coconut milk, the coconut harvesting labor. So God. Look that up before you buy coconut milk. Another thing in a lighter note is, if you, like me, have some arcade games and you want to keep them in electrostatic proof bags, but you found that the large ones are expensive on the eBay or on the on the Amazon or whatever you buy them.
Wherever you buy your electrostatic bags.
Wherever electrostatic bags are sold, go to digikey.com, because like you can buy a pack of the small like 12-inch ones for cheap basically anywhere, but once you get into like odd sizes like 15 by 20 or something, which is I think one that I have, it gets really expensive in most places, but digikey.com has them for like 58 cents each, and it's cheap shipping. So check that out, because it was actually quite difficult to find, and I had to ask a friend of the show, Patrick Miller, to ask his group of arcade game playing young people, where do you get those? And that was the answer, digikey.com. One more recommendation is that if your vegetables go limp in some way, but they don't appear to be bad, stick the stems of the vegetables into water and they'll crisp right up. A lot of people don't know that, but like you got like some limp kale, you got a soggy carrot, drop it in the water. It'll retain its turgidity, or regain it, and then you got a whole fresh new vegetable. Think about it.
Or
that's it.
Just eat it raw and don't bother enjoying it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I just eat my...
The carrot's still raw. The carrot's still ingested raw. It's just going to crunch better now.
It's just going to be better.
I do whatever I can to enjoy my food less, so that when I do enjoy a meal, it's like paradise.
You should pulp it into a paste, and then you can just down it.
You don't even have to chew. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, well, I've done that. It's not as much fun. I remember once where I thought maybe I should put a little bit of...
I thought we were removing the fun.
Yeah, wait, was this fun? Hang on.
Oh, well, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't do it anymore. Where I was like, maybe I should put a little bit of stevia into this water and spinach that I'm blending. And then it's like, no.
That sounds awful.
Well, no, stevia is very good for you. Is the problem? Stevia has.
It's not good for me.
Well, I mean, no, it is good for you. You just don't. If you don't like it, that's a different thing. As Jack LaLanne always said, if it tastes good, spit it out. That's my motto.
Nice. Eating dirt.
And that's why Jack LaLanne, Jack LaLanne was all about eating terrible food.
Mates,
How old did that guy? He was like
stones.
112 years old, something like that. He lived to be an old man. He's the juice
Tim,
man.
you got any recommendations for us?
No, I don't do recommendations.
Sometimes he does. But
People ask me for recommendations too often, so I try to not. 96. Jack LaLanne was 96 years old.
Flute.
I recommend that you watch the Katsuhito Ishii film The Taste of Tea from 2004, which is
good
about
film.
the surreal nature of daily life and how beautiful Tochigi Prefecture is. It's on archive.org.
I smoked in Tochigi once.
Yeah, great. I also recommend that you rate and review our show on whichever platform you're listening to this on, as well as support us on patreon.com/InsertCredit, where you can submit questions to our panel, get access to bonus episodes where our most delicious interstitial opinions can be found. You can also join our community at forums.insertcredit.com or look for Insert Credit on YouTube.
Yeah,
Incredible.
that's true.
Brandon, are you not a fan of Jack LaLanne? You know he's from Oakland, right?
Well, then I have to be.
He's an Oakland hero. He opened one of America's first fitness gyms in Oakland, California in 1936.
Dang.
Yeah, and then he died in 2011.
I'm Colin, aka MoxBagel.
I'm Frank Spaldi.
I'm Tim Rogers.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And a little bit of Choco in my life, a little bit of Epon by my side, a little bit of Grenkoots, all I need, a little bit of Nork the Mysterious, what I see.
Very good.
Excellent.
That's Tobal number 2.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.